Good morning. So I am really pleased to introduce to you Dennis Wick. He is the Director of the Planning Resource Development Department since October 2013. He's had an extensive career in land use. He worked with the Marin County Development Agency as the development chief after serving as a senior planner. He oversaw very major development projects in Marin County. He's been involved in various boards and organizations as a board member, advisory, Sonoma County Farm Bureau, Bank of Marin, Friends, Petaluma River, Petaluma People Service, more. He's part owner of Hen House Brewery. He served on the Petaluma Planning Commission. He's got his JD from Golden Gate University. He's from Boston. He lives here with his, well, I don't think he's living with his daughters anymore, but he's got 4 daughters and 3 female dogs and a lot of female energy that guy's house. A lot of hens. That's right, he's got hens too. He's a distance runner. I've actually done on some bike rides with him in the past, although I was kind of up to the desk. I just found out this morning he used to play rugby, so I want to have a discussion about that. Mr. Dunbar, that's right. And I actually met him when he was working with Bird Holding Corporation, and they were doing some developing a vermicomposting program down in Petaluma. Vermicomposting, i.e. worms eating food scraps. So anyway, I'm really happy to invite Dennis Wick to join us this morning.
Great. Davis is one of my bosses as a county planning commissioner. So I have to Thank you for having me here. I go to a lot of Rotary meetings throughout the course of the year in different parts of the county, and I got to say, this is the biggest and most festive I've been to. Keep up, whatever you're doing. And of course, they're all the first one, the youngest. Really keep up, whatever you're doing. So Kim asked me to come and just speak briefly. I'd rather have this be a dialogue than a monologue about the county permit process and our agency in particular. Despite our clumsy name, the Permit and Resource Management Department, we just refer to ourselves as your permit people. We are 110 people with 18 different licenses under our roof, everything from lawyers to geologists, engineers, permit techs. And we are unique in California. We're unique in California that we have everybody in land use disciplines all under one roof. The board was dissatisfied 20 years ago with the service level that was being provided, so they knocked the 4 major land use departments together and created this singular agency. I had been a customer of the agency since its inception. So I remember the bad old days of having to go and sit and beg for permits for days. I'd like to think that our customer service has improved significantly since then. We are experiencing record levels of business. We are on track to serve 30,000 visitors to the permit center this year and issue approximately 11,000 permits. Our main customer is the rural residential landowner who, at a time of low interest rates and pretty obsolescent housing stock, most of the homes being built just after the turn of the Second World War, need improving. So all those roofs that are getting redone, people putting on an addition to their home, that's all coming through our shop. We issue approximately 80% of our permits over the counter. So that's something that we should be very proud of. We also deal with a number of major policy issues. I noticed John Billett has left now. I feel like he might. Dealing with everything from affordable housing to sustainable groundwater. Charlie and I are classmates at UC Davis, going through a groundwater course. Winery events, as you may have been reading about, is quite a controversial subject. Vacation rentals, which will soon be coming to the board of supervisors, and something I didn't think I'd ever be dealing with in my profession, marijuana cultivation, which is a huge issue for us. And to the board's, with my credit to the board, they brought us and 5 other counties together to say, look, we see this coming our way. It's going to be expressed to the legislature as medical marijuana, but we all know it's really going to be a placeholder for recreational marijuana. So all 6 counties got together, went to the legislature through our Senator McGuire, and said, we have these common interests and concerns, and we hope that you'll hear them in the bill. Yeah. So it's a rare time when you have a chance to affect state policy that way. So that'll be a big thing coming up. And we also have a much more aggressive code enforcement process where you'll see Moon Mountain in Sonoma Valley, where we had to demolish 2 illegal homes, large ones. Some of the legacy compounds down in South County that are being faded down. So business is good. Yes, we're hoping to set an example. We don't have too much of that money. We're also trying to change our code enforcement policy to be more proactive, and we now have probably 80% of our cases being solved voluntarily, which is the way we prefer to do things. From a technological standpoint, this is one of the more satisfying things to me, because the base technology for our agency right now is the Selectron scan card. Remember those when you had to stand in line to do computer programming in college or high school? That's the form that our building inspectors use for the pass-fail or corrections that they fill in at the job site. And of course, we don't take those back and put them in the computer. We have a staff member that manually enters information from this Selectron card back into the computer system. So this is nuts. And to the board's credit, they granted us money to put in a new online permitting system. And the first part of that will be coming live in January 2016. Right now, we have 2 worlds of data. We have our narrative data in one universe and our graphic data in another, which is crazy. And our first step is to unify those so that you can go to a map, click on a parcel, and bring up the information on that. Sounds almost routine now in the world of Google Maps and other interactive programs, but that's what we have to get as a county, and that will be happening in the new year. April of this next year will be a huge step forward for us. We'll be introducing a new permitting system that will allow any of you to have your own dashboard to see land use data the way you want to see it. So if you're an appraiser, you have a certain level of needs. If you're a general contractor, you just want to look at your permits. The great thing for customers and the government alike is that those scan cards are going away, and the building inspectors and all of our field staff will have a tablet. We're just going through beta testing now with our tech staff going out with our field inspectors to get all the bugs worked out. But now this information will be entered and sent to whomever you want it sent simultaneously. So it's going to be a much better business improvement. Right now we just have triplicate, right? Goldenrod, green mint, rose-colored forms. So you only get one piece of information going to the owner, the general contractor, and we keep one. So inevitably, we need like a job site. If you're in the trades or you didn't pass the construction site, there's sometimes a general contractor of 9 stuff on the site. And you know there's only one piece of information coming from us on an inspection, things are going to go wrong. So now that information can go to everybody at the same time. Another thing, if anybody ever been to the permit center? Oh, okay. That acre-sized building, so you've been in the permit center and you've gone to what we Catholics and Episcopalians call the 14 stations of the cross. And we finish you with crucifixion at the cashier's table. I know it can seem, as a customer, I know it can seem like it takes a long time, but what I always liked about it, when I was farming, and had to go in and get permits for barns or whatever, was that I got in and out of there in one day. That doesn't happen in most county governments here in California. It will take much longer to get through. The back part of that building is over 20% paper. So when I first came in, I thought, all right, I got to figure out how to get this stuff digitized. So I broke out all the permits and permit types, hired some manpower people, figured out what the labor cost was per unit to get it, and did the multiplication, said, well, okay, $1.5 million over about 3 years to get this stuff online so they can see it from their homes. And in those moments of complacency, when I was walking back to my office and our records chief, David Lash, said, well, what about the warehouse? What warehouse? Turns out we have another whole building as big as the permit center on West College, from floor to ceiling filled with paper. But we're going to get all that digitized too. So within 5 years, you'll be able to look at records from your home instead of having to drive from West County, Cloverdale, to Santa Rosa to see something on your own property. The last technological step forward we're taking this year is also to go to digital submittal. So when you're in a hole, first rule is stop digging, right? You want to get out. So stop taking more paper in. And this is a big step for the trades, for the design and development community. But I think a good one, because we've all been operating with AutoCAD now for like 25, 30 years. So we'll be taking, by the end of 2016, only digital scales. That will be an enormous savings for taxpayers and customers alike. So that's enough of a lightning rod summary of our business, and I'd be happy to take any questions or critiques.
What's the current status of wineries that want to go into business with events and that sort of thing?
So the question is about the winery events and potential lower concentration. So we've had a working group of which Mr. Boletto was a member and expressed his opinions forcefully and articulately. That working group process has ended. We are now taking the good comments that we had from those folks, other activists who are continuing to give us ideas, and are forming our staff recommendation, which we'll then take out to community meetings in the first part of next year, have more input through that process, and then on the planning commission, which will probably need at least 2-3 meetings to go over our recommendations and the options we offer to them, and then on the board of supervisors.
I mean, is it looking like it's going to expand more events or keep a lid on it?
I think there'll be additional controls and better enforcement. I think that we're looking at, we've been discovered, right? I mean, name the segment of our economy, recreation. We have triathlons, marathons, cycling centuries every weekend. And to have that at the same time that we have all the winery events and everything else going on, transportation rental explosion, we need a referee out there on weekends to just avoid some of the conflicts. So that'll be, I think, one of our recommendations.
Just wanted to make a note that, speaking of triathlons, his wife won the half Vineman. Right?
She's actually in the top 5% of the world.
Yeah.
Wow.
Okay, the hard question is, things like composting toilets and gray water, it seems like we should be ahead. This is West County, but we're kind of behind. What happened on those?
Good question. So the question was about really new technologies in wastewater treatment. Something that's frustrated me for some time. So one of the things I did when I came in now 2 years is incorporate an innovation lab within our new agency brand of Permit Sonoma. And to do it for 2 reasons. One is to bring in new ideas, and also as a way of rewarding employees within. So if you're performing well and your section's performing well, you get to participate in the innovation lab. And one of the things we're doing right now is looking at pretreatment systems that aren't necessarily sanctioned by the state or by the county government. And this is a big deal in the Russian River. One of the things we're doing there under the mandate of the Regional Water Quality Control Board is looking at further restrictions and improvements to the septic systems. We think they've been, and hold them in writing, too heavy-handed. And we should be looking at alternate solutions like pre-treatment. There are systems, one called Corona, and some other catchy trade names that will allow people to keep their existing septic system and pre-treat. But I'm also, we have a pilot program going for composting toilets and are open to other technologies. Part of it, we have a process, and that part of it, the frustration is getting willing business owners to go through. As you can imagine, we don't want to just do this on one property and say, oh, it's all good, let's do it. It's a science-based process, so we want to get citrus composting, have it operating on multiple properties to see how well. Oh, got one.
Kenneth, so you and I have been participating in Davis's class on the Sustainable Groundwater Act, and I'm just wondering how do you think at this point, and this is sort of early, how will your department incorporate that act? Are you a groundwater sustainability agency, or
We are.
You are one?
Right, under this,
explain that.
Sure. So one of the things I never thought I'd see happen in my lifetime, Charlie and I were talking about this earlier, was the legislature passed something known as the Sustainable Groundwater Management Act. We were the last Western state to enact a process for resource management of groundwater. But thankfully they did. We have approximately 40,000 wells in Sonoma County. That is a huge number compared to most of the other counties in the state. And we have 3 basins that the state declares worthy of regulation as either a high or medium priority basin. Vineyard and Santa Rosa, not surprisingly, of which Sebastopol is a part. Sonoma Valley and Petaluma Valley. Fortunately, in Sonoma County, we started groundwater management studies in concert with the federal government as far back as 5 years ago. So we have a plan in place for the Laguna, one in place for Sonoma, and this work is just happening in Petaluma. That puts us far ahead of the timeline that we have to meet for forming a government process, and then, which is 2017, and then having a plan in place by 2022 that reaches sustainability in 2040. I think we'll get to those goals a lot faster than those state mandates. And we'll see how it shakes out. I was pretty pessimistic at first that everyone would just, this being the West, everyone just back into their own corners and say, every city would be its own sustainability agency. They haven't done it. And I think part of that's because of the trust that was built in those previous processes I just described. So I think we'll see not one big guerrilla government, county government agency for all of Sonoma County, but probably sustainability agencies for each of the basins, and then some process for coordinating what happens among the 3 basins, and most importantly, for holding this out to the state, so that they see one entity instead of 3, and we'll be able to get more grant money.
Okay, one more question?
There is out there in Sonoma County numerous, folk who didn't get permits for fairly innocuous reasons, and folk who didn't get permits to put multi-houses on one property. What's the short and long-term future for that from your perspective?
For which property?
Well, people build without getting permits, and do zoning violations and all those sorts of things. Is county enforcement going to happen on that someday? What do you think is going to happen then?
We receive approximately 4,000 complaints a year We have 7 code enforcement officers. We prioritize those from life safety down to quality of life issues, and have a pretty good record at bringing them into compliance. And as I said, we have a much more aggressive process now. We're demolishing another house in the Russian River community in this next month. So I'm hoping that when people see that change in behavior, that they'll say, you know what, it's not worth doing that.
All right.
Speaker Dip. And we also have a door prize, and for that we need to draw a ticket.
My arm is no longer long enough.
So you got those numbers right here, right?
Not handy. 7190.
One off.
Cut that over. 7190.
Try again.
Try again.
All right, try again.
Must have been the letters. 7184.
Yo!
Come on, people.
Come on around here, Bill. Somewhere in here, there's an ace.
Yes.
Oh, so close! But you have some consolation prize. Thanks. Get my selfie with you, Dennis. A thought. A joke, actually. Dan Dino, are you prepared?
I am here.
All right. Dan, microphone.
Well, I'm going to pull out a moldy oldie, but a good one. This is a Groucho Marx. Groucho always said that outside of a dog, a book is a man's best friend. And inside of a dog, it's too dark to read.
We want to keep tennis employees and pay your property tax because they're due by tomorrow. I did that.
All right, quick announcement too, before we exit. Next week is our Christmas program. So watch your email. We're going to be doing something a little bit different, a little bit special next week. Not too much pressure, but we'll have a little fun. Jim Corbett's going to be there with a little singing. And hopefully our boss won't have too much business to do, right? Right. Okay, with that, are you ready?
We're ready.
Trails to you.